a new episode of The Final Vinyl. This is the third episode. It is a show where I listen to music and try to figure out what the best album of all time is. And I started this quest when my father outrageously committed suicide while listening to the Aerosmith number, Dude Looks Like a Lady. This time around we have my old friend Ray helping me on the quest. Thank you so much, Ray, for joining me this time on The Final Vinyl. This week, Ray and I are going to be tackling a little thing called Vampire Weekends, Modern Vampires and the City. And this album... Get you water? When I listen to this piece, it makes me envision in my mind a very large room filled to the brim with tiny midget men, and they're craning their necks up towards the thing that you sing into, and I don't know what instruments look like, but I would imagine that the ones that they're holding are bite-sized, almost like Halloween fun candy instruments that you get from your neighbor. And it reminds me of a time in the 1980s, in the late 1980s, when my father used to invite 20, 25, 30 midgets over, and what he would do is hire these midgets as actors to look like his friends from around the neighborhood and from high school, and they'd come over, they'd throw their tiny keys into a tiny bowl, and then they ran around in a circle, they got all disoriented, and then they chose a key from the bowl, and then they went into the various rooms in my condominium and fucked each other. And I had a wagon I would sit in as a young boy, and I would listen to these midgets having sex with each other, and it reminded me of the bombastic number Diane Young. Ray, I'd love to get your thoughts on the album. I'd love to hear what you thought of a new album from this year. I know you're a music man. Tell me what you think of the music. Let's hear what you have to say about this album. 60 minutes of music. Can you just tell just a few, like 5 words? Doesn't look like Ray wants to participate this time around. He's a man of few words. To be clear, I did not know my friend Ray was deaf until just now. Turns out he is deaf. I would now like to address the deaf community. I'd like to make a formal apology to both my friend Ray and everyone out there whose ears don't work anymore. So on behalf of The Final Vinyl, it's me, David McCoubrey, saying I'm so sorry! And now back to the show. I would like to have my friend Barry Lordax come back onto the program. Hey, Barry.
Dave, good to see you again,
man. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on short notice.
Happy to be here, man.
Now, we had a little bit of a snafu when my deaf friend was on the program, and he did not have a word to say. I'd just like to quickly get your thoughts on Vampire Weekends, Modern Vampires of City.
Okay, so that album, I mean, it's their third record, and it's really tough to even figure out where to start with that band. I mean, you know, they started off as these Ivy League scholars, and then they just kept experimenting and making all these new and, like, you know, really lush and, like, beautiful arrangements, and, like, Ezra Koenig's vocals are just, you know, very casual and conversational, but he's also talking about...
Reminds me of Small Men, doesn't it? The whole album, just a small group of guys standing around.
I mean, they're probably all about, you know, between 5'8" and 6'1", I'd say. I guess I don't. It sounds like they're short guys just screaming. I mean, Ezra Koenig's vocals are pretty reserved.
A tiny man screaming at the top of her lungs sounds like a regular man whispering. So to me, that's just the same.
So you think that Ezra Koenig's vocals on this entire album are whispered?
What's an Ezra Koenig?
That's the lead singer. His name is Ezra Koenig.
Sounds like a board game. My favorite song on the piece was the one where they talk about hot horchata.
You're talking about the song Horchata, right?
That's the one.
Yeah, that actually came out on Contra, which was back in 2010. That was their.
That's right! Oh, I didn't even listen to the right album! Didn't hear Wham-Fires of the Weekend. Didn't even listen to it once. Regardless, I give it a 99.5. 99.50.
I guess seeing as how I'm the only credible source on this fucking show, I'm gonna give this album a 90.10.
Pretty sure we're one step closer to figuring out what the final vinyl is, gang. Might even. Thanks for joining us, Barry. We're one step closer. I think this one might be the final vinyl. But join us next week anyway on the final vinyl. Catch you on the flip side.
Gentlemen.